Best of the rest seems to imply that these publishers are somehow less important than the biggest names like EA, Sony, or Activision, but that couldn't be further from the truth. Several of the titles on this list are easily among our most anticipated. From sprawling RPGs to ambitious virtual reality projects, E3 2015 looks to be one of the most diverse yet. Atlus has only grown in prominence over the last decade, and a big part of their rise is due to the Persona series. Persona 4 is almost universally acclaimed, so it's no surprise that excitement has reached a fever pitch for the sequel. Since the outstanding gameplay reveal in February, there's been virtually no new information, and E3 is the perfect opportunity to change that. While Atlus usually reveals things in Japan first, we're hoping that Sony recognizes the growing appeal of Persona and finds a way to debut a new trailer on its stage. Outside of Persona 5, Atlus has plenty of other games to show off, including Persona 4 Dancing All Night, Etrian Odyssey 2 Untold, and Lost Dimension. Konami is in an unusual spot. After the recent PT controversy and the intent to focus on mobile, it feels like they'll have a diminished presence at E3. Of course, we still know very little about Metal Gear Online, and with the Phantom Pain coming out in September, it would make sense to have a big blowout at E3. Additionally, we expect details on the next entry in the Pro Evolution Soccer series. .505 Games is less prominent than other publishers on this list, but they're bringing some of the most intriguing games to the show. First is Abzu, which is an underwater adventure from a development team that includes staff who previously worked on Journey. Much like Journey, it's difficult to do justice to Abzu with words. The serene aquatic vistas speak for themselves and are practically begging to be explored. While Abzu looks peaceful and relaxing, Adrift seems stressful and claustrophobic. You explore space in first person and must monitor a constantly dwindling supply of oxygen. Bandai Namco's E3 offerings seem especially exciting thanks to a recent leak. Apparently, Dark Souls 3 will properly be revealed at E3. Rumors indicate that there will be a new system known as Sacrifice Ceremonies, where you perform a ritual on fallen enemies to enter the world of other players. Besides Dark Souls, we're hoping to get our first hands-on time with Tekken 7, which hit Japanese arcades relatively recently. Capcom's biggest game is easily Street Fighter V. Just this week, they announced V-Skills, which essentially replaces focus attacks from Street Fighter IV. By filling up the V-gauge, players can unleash unique attacks that are either offensive or defensive. The game has made waves by securing a partnership with PlayStation that will keep it on PS4 and PC, and we expect nothing less than for it to set a new standard for fighting games to come. .2K is bringing a lot to the table this E3. The biggest game revealed thus far is XCOM 2. The sequel to our 2012 Game of the Year promises more involved customization for soldiers, more flexible missions, and more intelligent enemies. Civilization Beyond Earth is getting an expansion named Rising Tide, and we'll see our first glimpse of it at the show. As indicated by its title, Rising Tide is focused on water. Players can colonize in the ocean, and there will be new aquatic aliens. Coming from the makers of Borderlands, we've been hearing about Battleborn for a while, and we'll finally get a chance to play it at E3. Hopefully this cooperative first-person shooter can live up to its pedigree. With E3 only days away, the excitement is palpable. Once again, it feels like anything is possible. Various leaks and pre-show announcements have already made us giddy with anticipation. Even when E3 is at its worst, it's still a spectacle to behold. Hopefully this year will be one to remember. This wraps up our countdown to the show. Be sure to check our previous entry on what to expect from Sony, and keep an eye out for our most anticipated games of E3. Visit our E3 Hub on YouTube, our Twitch channel, and of course, GameTrailers.com to catch our impressions from the show all next week.
Dear Game Trailers, I want you to know that everything I did, from pretending to be like Fancy to leaving all those misleading clues for Bloodworth, I did because I love E3. All I ask is that you look at yourself, Game Trailers. You're not Fancy. deep down, you're all basically a bunch of buttonses. You love E3 as much as I do. But if you don't want to be compared to some shabby old alley cat, I understand. As for me, I'm going back into hibernation. After all, there's no point to E3 if you can't share it with your best friends. Warmest regards, Buttons.
Buttons? Hey, Buttons, are you here?
Yes?
Buttons, will you come back to Game Trailers?
You read my letter.
Oh no. Fancy was murdered by some poachers. It's actually a really serious problem.
Wow.
Yeah. So will you help us out? Will you spend E3 with us?
It would be an honor. Hey, Elise.
Yeah.
You realize this is Rich, right?
I do.